Hello everyone. So today we are going to learn what are approximation methods and what is the need for approximation methods. So first of all, what is the need for approximation method? We have seen how to formulate a Schrodinger's wave equation for hydrogen atom, for hydrogen molecule, for ions, for helium atom and for other ions. So what happens in case of hydrogen atom? We have only one nucleus and one electron. So it is very easy to solve Schrodinger wave equation for that simplest system. Now when the number of electrons increases or we are dealing with multi-electron systems, there comes inter-electronic repulsion terms. So how to deal with those inter-electronic repulsion terms? It is not easy to solve them. So we apply some approximations just to simplify the equation, Schrodinger's wave equation, so that we can get a very close value, not exact but very close value to the experimental results for energy and wave function. So there are two main approximation methods what we are discussing here. First one is the perturbation method, another one is variational method. So we are going to discuss here perturbation method first and after that variational method. So for perturbation method I have considered helium atom. So let's see, for the helium atom the Hamiltonian operator can be written as this. We have two electrons, one nucleus, distances r1 and r2, electron 1 and 2 are apart from nucleus and the distance between two electrons is small r. So I have written this Hamiltonian operator, kinetic energy term for first electron, for the second electron, kinetic energy term for the nucleus, and this is potential energy term for nucleus and first electron. This is nucleus and second electron. This is the repulsion term between the two electrons. So we have total 6 terms in this Hamiltonian operator. Now what perturbation method says? See, I can apply Born-Oppenheimer approximation and neglect this term, mass of the nucleus, and see this is kinetic energy of first electron and the potential energy of nucleus and first electron. So if I combine these two terms will be equivalent to a hydrogen atom where one electron and one nucleus is present. So we can write this term, combining these two terms as H1 naught. Let's say this. Okay, this is the Hamiltonian operator for these two, for the system if there is only this one electron and this one nucleus. Alright. Now again I can combine this term and this potential energy term. So this will be again equivalent to the nucleus and second electron. So this is again equivalent to an hydrogen atom. So I can write it like H2 naught. Now rest of the terms which are left are this term which depends on the inter-electronic repulsion between two electrons. So we can treat this function as the perturbation. This is the perturbation in the system. If this term is not there, we can easily solve for these two Hamiltonian operators, treating them as individual hydrogen atoms and can get the value of expectation value of energy. So perturbation theory says this perturbation in the system is very small and this will not affect the wave function and energy of the system much. So we can neglect it. Once we neglect it, it becomes easier to solve the system. So this is approximation method. So what happens? We can apply this kind of equation where if psi is the wave function for this, d tau, so expectation value you will get some value. So this will be E naught plus E naught plus the term which is corresponding to perturbation method. So this way you can calculate the expectation value of energy. So this is important to understand this method, and we are not going to do this in detail because it is not included in the syllabus, but it was important to understand how we apply the perturbation method. Now the second and important method which is of our concern is variational method. This is important. Now variational method depends upon the variation theorem. So variation theorem says, it says if I select a wave function, any random wave function for a system which is well behaved, which is normalized. Alright, so I hope you all remember the definition of a well behaved function. So when you select a wave function, it has to be a well behaved function. So if this theorem says if this is a well behaved function we have taken, and we calculate the expectation of value of energy using this function for a corresponding Hamiltonian operator for the system, we will get average energy value, and that average energy value will be greater than or equal to the actual value for the system. So it will be either greater than or equal to. Okay, so it depends upon the wave function. If we are choosing a correct wave function, we can get more closer value to the original value. Otherwise it may be greater, but it will never be less than the actual value. So let's see how it works. So let's see how to prove the variational theorem. As we said, in variational theorem we have energy of the system will be always greater than or equal to the minimum energy of the system. This energy is from the wave function we have assumed or we have taken, which was well behaved. So how to prove this? We take a wave function which is the sum of some other wave functions. So phi 1, C2, phi 2, C3, phi 3 and so on. Or we can write Cn, phi n for all the values of n. Alright. Now this is the wave function which we have assumed, and the corresponding average energy will be given by the expression psi star Hamiltonian operator psi d tau divided by psi star. So if we substitute the value of psi star, I can write it like it is n and yes, C n phi n star Hamiltonian and summation n C n phi n d tau. Similarly, here we have C n phi n star C n phi n d tau. So this will be the equation for the average energy. Alright, now Cn is a constant here. I can take summation sign outside. Cn star and Cn can also come out of the this sign integration through all n's. Inside the sign we will have phi n star phi n d tau. Here also Cn star Cn phi n star phi n d tau. So all these phi 1, phi 2, phi 3 are again well behaved function, and they also follow the eigenvalue equation. So I can say phi 1 is equal to E phi 1 E, or I must write it generally, phi n is equal to E n phi n. So I can substitute the value of this over here in this expression. Now one more thing, all these phi n functions are orthonormal functions. Orthonormal functions. It means phi n will be equal to 1 and phi n and phi n m, another function, will be equal to 0. This is a condition for normalization and this is the condition for orthogonality. So these are all orthonormal functions. So what happens, the value of E will be value of this function will become En, and we will have here Cn star Cn. All right, now next step is to subtract. Let this is average energy is E, so this is equal to E. If I subtract E naught from both the sides, here also minus E naught, and this side also E minus E naught. Okay, I can take En minus E naught out of this bracket. First of all, just simplify this. We will have summation Cn star Cn inside the bracket. This will be En minus multiplied Cn star Cn E naught by Cn star Cn E naught. So now I can take Cn star Cn summation out of the bracket. So this will be E minus E naught and Cn, right, this way, and here we have E minus E naught. Now from right hand side of the equation, because Cn is a positive integer, positive value, or even if they are negative, they will become positive after multiplication. So what happens, this side becomes greater than for all the values of En or equal to 0. So we can say if right hand side is greater than equal to 0, this left hand side will also be greater than or equal to 0. That is E minus E naught is always greater than equal to 0. So how this is greater than equal to 0? This is positive, this quantity is positive, and these two will always be greater than or equal to 0 for any values of n. Values of n can start from 0, 1, 2. Even if you put 0 over here, so will be 0, E0 minus E0, that will be equal to 0. If you put E1 minus E0 will be again greater than 0. So this way, this is the proof of variational theorem. So we will apply this theorem to some function to prove it for particle in 1D box. So let us derive a general expression for the average energy through variational theorem for any system, which we can apply for any system. So first step is to consider a wave function. So I am assuming it a linear function. Let's say C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2. Okay, so this is the function I have assumed. Second step is to write down the expression for average energy, that is psi star psi theta this way. So if I substitute the value of this psi over here, I will have C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2 H cap C1 star C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2 d tau. In the denominator also I will substitute the value bracket C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2 star C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2 this way. Alright, so I have substituted value within the given limits. Next step is to simplify these terms. How to simplify? Just if I remove this sign, let's say this is only E symbol for the average energy, we just cross multiply these two terms, this, to simplify this. So I will have E inside the bracket this whole factor. This will be C2 psi2 star C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2. On the other side we have the entire given term C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2 star C1 psi1 C2 psi2. Right. Now multiply these terms and simplify it. So in the next step, so I will have E C1 square, because here okay C1 and C2 are constants and they are not complex, but wave function can be complex. So I am just taking it like C1 and C1 square, and this will be psi1 and psi1 star psi1. So we had integration sign also. All right. So this will be psi1 star psi1. This first term and this first term is giving C1 square psi1 star psi1 theta plus first and second term. It will have C1 C2 psi1 star psi2. Okay, plus this term and this term we have C1 C2 C1 and psi2 star psi1 d tau plus this term and this term C2 square C2 square psi2 star and psi2 d tau. So this was our left hand side. All right. And what happened on the right hand side? We will have similar terms, but there is a Hamiltonian operator in between involved. So I will have on the right hand side this term. If I simplify this, this will be C1 square psi1 star. All the terms will be same, number of terms also will be same, but the only thing is in between every this function there will be a Hamiltonian operator. Psi2 psi1 plus C2 square psi2 theta. All right, so these are the terms. Now we can substitute some value for these integrals just to make this equation simple. So I substitute this factor as S11 wave function 1 and wave function 1, this factor as S12, this one as S21 and this as S22. Again for these terms on the right hand side I will substitute, because Hamiltonian is involved, so I can say this term is H11, let's say this term is H12, this term is H21 and this term is H22. All right. Now if these two wave functions are interchangeable or indistinguishable, so we can say H12 and H21 are equal and S12 and S121 are equal. If we can interchange the role of these two wave functions, these two functions will become equal. So S12 will be equal to S21 and H12 will be equal to H21 if the two particles or these two wave functions are interchangeable. I will have E C1 square S11 plus these, if these two are same, here we had C1 C2 2C1C2 S12 plus C2 square S22. Okay. On the other side, I will have C1 square H11 plus 2C1C2 H12 plus C2 square H22. Now in the next step, collect the coefficients of C1 square, C1, C2 and C2 square from both the sides. So bring all the terms on one side. So we will have E, take these terms on the other side. Okay, these terms on the other side. So I will have H11 minus ES11 C1 square. If I am taking these entire term on the other side and collecting the coefficients of C1 square, so we will have ES11 from here and H11 from this equation. So this will be the coefficient of C1 square. Similarly for C2 square, for this first, I have H12 minus ES12 and 2C1C2 plus H22 minus ES22 C2 square is equal to 0. This will be our modified equation. In the next step, we have to minimize E with respect to C1 and C2. It means we have to find out this factor and put it equal to 0, and again with respect to C2 and 0. So after doing these two steps, we will have two equations. So let's do two equations. H11 minus ES11 C1 plus H12 minus ES12 C2 is equal to 0. Another equation, let this is 1. Another will be H12 minus ES12 will be C1. H22 minus ES22 C2 is equal to 0. This is equation number 2. So we have two equations and two variables C1 and C2. So we can convert this equation in terms of determinant form. So our determinant will be and 12 minus ES12 H, here we had 2 1 and 2 1. Okay, both were equivalent, so I can write 1 2 also. Yes 1 2. Okay, so 1 2 minus ES12 H22 minus ES22, and here C1 and C2 is equal to this. All right, now see, this cannot be equal to 0, because if coefficients become equal to 0, the wave function will vanish. It means this determinant has to be equal to 0. So we equate this determinant equal to 0. Let's solve it. So we will have, this is H11 minus ES11, H12 minus ES12, H12 minus ES12, H22 minus ES22 is equal to 0. So I can just solve it. It will be 1 1 and H22 minus ES22 minus this minus H12 minus ES12 square is equal to 0. So this way, if I know the values of these integrals, I can simply substitute the values of these integrals and it will be easier to find out the expression for energy, which is the purpose. So we must solve one equation in which we have the values of these integrals, so that we can know the value of energy, what is the value of energy coming from this method. So let's take example of 1D box. The provided wave functions psi1 and psi2 are these. for the 1D box. This is given to you. Now you know this value of determinant. You simply have to find out the values of H11, which was psi1 star, and H12, which was equal to 21, psi1 star, psi2, and H22 also, right. And S11 similarly, S11 was without Hamiltonian operator, S12 and S21, and S22. So once you know the value of these integrals for this function, you can always substitute these values over here in this determinant and solve for equation. So now here I am just not solving every step, I am just taking the values of these integrals. So after solution you will get the values of Hamiltonian operator after solving for these psi1 and psi2 comes out to be these values. Alright, so when you substitute these values over here in this determinant and solve, this will become a quadratic equation in terms of E. So we will get two values of energies, and this is 102.13 and 9.87. This is very high, so this will not be considered. This will be the possible value for 1D box system. Here the terms, usual terms have their that meaning, mass of the particle, and here length of the box, Planck's constant. So this way you can apply variational method to solve for any system, provided these two functions should be given, or you must assume these functions, and you can solve for energy and wave function. Again, if you substitute this value of energy in the secular equations, which were H11 minus ES11 C1 plus H12 minus ES12 C2 is equal to 0, and H11 minus ES C1 plus H22 minus ES22 C2 is equal to 0. If you substitute the values of H1, H and S parameters and energy over here in this expression, you will get the values of C1 and C2 also. So this way we can solve for any system.